Hey, you Mexicans, welcome back to What If the Fascist Order comes back to the modern world, or comes to the modern world. For today, we're going to be seeing this go to the the final climax, basically. So we see that the Fascist Order will declare war on Russia if it would actually register that. Yeah, the Fascist Order declares war on Russia, which kind of also means that since apparently the Dutch want the rest of Prussia, they want to declare war on the rest of the Baltics too, and Belarus. And Poland is just like dragged in, even though they were already just at war. But yeah. So first of all, the Korean front. The Koreans push in from Upper Manchuria. They don't really have much else to push in from. But they push in. They take over the rest of Upper Manchuria. But also realize that the goals of this Korean Empire is actually, like, if this was WICSO Restarted, the Siberian portions of Russia also have Korean culture. So their goal here would be to get some of that Korean culture back under them. But since this but the goals kind of translate, but we all know that this doesn't have any Korean culture in our modern world. But in WICSO Restarted, if we look at the, is there even, does the religion map say that, hold up, do we even have a religion map? Okay, no we don't. Let's look at a more recent episode, actually. Yeah, WICSO 17. As you can see, we see that the Koreans have, well, they semi-reformed their empire at this point. So that's something. But let's look at the religion map. Oh, it's just Russian. It was culture-wise. Well, culture-wise, Siberia is owned by them, yeah. That's culture. But yeah, culture-wise, the, the Koreans share a culture here, so this is kind of where the goals of this Korean empire before was to pretty much expand it to the rest of Siberia in order to get that Korean culture. I think that was during the whole World War, like the whole World War with like the Fascist Order versus like the Trapezoid Alliance. But with this not being this world, we're still gonna see the Koreans absolutely want to do this goal. Especially because it's the Koreans. You all know they want to. But yeah, other fronts we should look out for is the European front. As both the Georgians and the Ukrainians will be doing their own front here. They push into this part of Russia. They cut this in half. The Georgians push in and take over this. And it helped the Ukrainians make it up to these cities. Then the Dutch, of course, will roll in using their own front line. So they push into the Polish and these areas again. We see that the Belarusians are pushed up too before, like, the Dutch is the one that captures the Russian capital, along with the Kola Peninsula. And then we just see the Russians surrender over to the Koreans. Okay. Yeah, we will look at the peace treaty now. So we see that the Koreans annex all of Siberia. The Koreans annex all of Siberia. The Ukrainians annex portions of Poland, Belarus, Russia, and that's it. And then Georgia annexes a good chunk of southern Russia. While the rest of Russia, along with the rest of the Baltics, Belarus, and Poland, all get conglomerated into the Russian government from WICSO Restarted. I'm not lying. This is the exact same color. This is the Russian government from WICSO Restarted. But not this one. This one. Huge difference. Huge difference. So yeah, welcome to the world, Russian government from WICSO Restarted. But yeah, the Dutch get the rest of Prussia, and yeah. However, the Koreans want to expand a little bit more. Let's see. How about we declare war on Nepal and India? But when the Koreans decide they want to declare war on India, that's when the world says, we've had absolutely enough. And so everyone else joins in this coalition. And at first the fascist powers are going to win. I mean, they're strong in their areas respectively, especially Australia, because I mean, at least for these two, the things they have to go after, well, this one would, they're gonna do well, at least in the outback. I don't know about any other places, but we'll just have to wait and see. So these two combine their forces and push into Western Australia. Western Australia is a cakewalk. However, Eastern Australia, they push in, they do good, until they get to this conglomerate of major cities over here. But they do, of course, still push in from North Australia. This is held at a standstill. Yeah, I mean, Australia's strength is over here. I'm pretty sure, at least in real life. And of course, these fools are, this blue is, needs to go away. It doesn't work here. Oh, yeah. The blue also needs to go away on this one. These islands are weak, so they'll get help they'll get help from, like, the Australians, I guess. The Australians push into the Papua New Guinea area. So then they just push in. Now, yeah. That's held to a halt. At least with the Indonesians. Now, please know that the Koreans are still their own strength. Like, they're still pretty strong, so they push into Indonesia and they capture a lot. As a matter of fact, they're the ones who actually go ahead and put Indonesia under full occupation, not the Australians. They get the Strait of Malacca. And I mean, Southeast Asia's kind of screwed because they're in the air, like, they're in the area where they can, like, just get cut off here. So yeah. However, when it comes to India, they aren't going to get anywhere. They'll get through Nepal, and I mean, that's a given. But India, I mean, they're like, they're over, like, they're strong. So it's going to be hard to get in. They'll still be able to push in, but it's hard. And then eventually it just stops. But Central Asia is kind of easy as they have Russian help. Which, I mean, we would color in their own color, but I just don't feel like it. Yeah, Russian help kind of gets to these countries. Like, up until they get to, like, the Iran areas and, like, Afghanistan, that's where the success kind of stops. And then, I mean, with Russian help and, like, Korean help also, the Georgians will push into the rest of the Caucasus. They won't get far into Iran, but they'll definitely get far into Kurdistan. And I mean, ultimately, Balkan forces are not going to protect this. So, I mean, this is where they're actually going to do well. If, of course, Austrian and Ukrainian forces helping. Though I'm not going to color Ukraine in its own color because most of the work is being done by Austrian forces, or Hungarian forces, I mean. They push a little further into Mesopotamia, but then Saudi forces come over. That's the standstill. But the Europeans are at a united standstill, though, because, like, these countries are not strong at all. The Europeans are the ones that can kind of do well. Like, they're the ones that can succeed the most. Because, I mean, all that remains of Europe are just a bunch of little weak countries. Like, France is puppeted by Iberia. The Balkans are nothing. And in Eastern Europe is kind of already under cross influence. So you just have the what remains of the Balkans and like the Nordics. That's not gonna do you well. But I mean, eventually it'll start going bad because I mean the Americas, what remains of Africa, and well, yeah, the world united against the cost team. It's not gonna go well. I mean, it just kind of expected. Also, I'm going to say this. Like these countries, absolutely annihilated. There's not even a chance for them to even succeed in this. And we will just kind of see that. They push into the West African country with ease, capturing the capital and pretty much annihilating the country. Then we see Nigeria focus on Cameroon, just like in real life. And yeah. Then the Gabon country collapses. Then yeah, the Congolese country too. As I mean, while you can definitely scare people with ultimatums, the weak ones anyway. You're ultimately not gonna fare well against Africa, especially considering that Egypt and like Nigeria in the war, even without the lands that they lost, they're still powerful. Like that's not gonna change anything. So yeah, with their strength and their numbers, Eventually, the Congolese country will collapse, because of course, Congolese country can't last long. And so, yeah, the African front was over before it even started. Why is this mouse so shaky? Even though it's the new one. Anyway. With Africa being dealt with, now we go ahead and see all the redirection go up to Europe. Where the first thing they'll do is actually start to redirect towards the British, where the English country is. Now, they're liberating Scotland, yes. And they're liberating Ireland and Wales. But, I mean, they're really just having the intentions to just bring back Britain after this. Yeah, this is where the front lines start to fall. As you see that, well, not London, but the capital of this England is captured. And eventually, the Blue English collapse. Which, not good. Then we see the Americans pull a D-Day, but instead of it being in Normandy, it'll be in Brittany. It'll work. And they're just trying to liberate France from the Iberians. They do that. And they also land into the Galicians. They capture the capital. And then they liberate Portugal. And, yeah. They then push into the Iberians from two fronts. Two-front war. Two-front war doesn't go well. And the Iberians are really just... They get encircled in the capital. And then they make sure to capture these islands so that they don't go anywhere. And yeah, the Iberians collapse. And we see a landing made in Sicily. And, oh yeah, the Italians are going to be liberated. Then they push it to what remains of the Dutch. Yeah, they capture that capital. And then we see that Germany rebels. So, literally just... Yep. Dutch occupational forces are eventually pushed out of these countries. So, yeah, liberation. And then, yeah, the Dutch collapse. Then we see the push into, I mean, the Europe storms, while the Europe storm's happening, the Middle Eastern storm's happening. So, we just see the liberation of a bunch of areas here. As the Caucasians can't hold anything here. So, yeah, they push out the Caucasians. They, occupy them. I mean, now they just have a front line into the Russian country. And, Ukraine, too, actually. They capture the Donbass. And push up into southern Russia. They head up to the Eastern Front. And they, get into Belarus and all that. Ukraine at this point's cooked as they capture Kiev and Lviv and all that. Yeah, Ukraine's cooked. The Turkish push into the rest of the Balkan front. I mean, yeah. So, they push it to Greece, liberate all that. They head down into the Crete area, liberate these islands, liberate Sofia, liberate Bucharest, and the liberation of the rest of the Balkans happens. Then they push into the Hungarians. They liberate Croatia, liberate northern Serbia, liberate Transylvania, capture the capital of Bucharest, and yeah, this collapses. And this Russian thing shouldn't exist. And we see the forces capturing Moscow and also St. Petersburg. As we pretty much just see the complete annihilation of the rest of the Russian front line. But we also see that the Korean front line will also get annihilated, start to get annihilated too. As we see them liberating the European parts of Kazakhstan. And I mean, Russia surrenders instantly. I mean, that's kind of a given. But yeah, after this we see them pushing into the Kazakh regions, liberating the capital, and just kind of liberating Kazakhstan. But we also see in this front line, they start to push into the rest of Central Asia, liberating all this. So, yeah. That also leads to this front line, where, the Australians will ultimately push back. As I mean, Australia in this region is just stronger. And eventually they push into the Australians. They capture this capital. And they eventually capture this capital too. With what remains surrendering to Australia. And West Australia gets liberated. Australia's full again. And we see that the Papua New Guinea and Indonesia regions of Papua New Guinea will get liberated. Along with these countries eventually falling into Australian occupation. Especially New Zealand. Then they push out the Koreans out of India, where it matters. And I mean, the Australians also push into Indonesia too. And they liberate all of this. They head up to Southeast Asia and liberate all this. Now, they focus on the Korean fronts. So they push to Siberia and liberate all this. Pushing up into Lake Baikal and then go over to Upper Manchuria, where they cut off this Siberian portion, take all that, head down into Sakhalin and all that. The important part is making it towards the Korean Peninsula, where they will cut off the Korean Peninsula from the rest of the main Chinese thing, which will eventually get pushed into. And yeah, the China part collapses instantly. The Philippines collapse instantly too. And we see them going into the Korean Peninsula. They capture the capital. The rest of the Korean Peninsula falls. And we also see the Japan area fall. And just like that, this war is over. In the peace treaty, we just see the countries come back, really, because, I mean, this wasn't supposed to happen anyway. But yeah, with that being said, though, that'll end this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. and I'll see you guys in a new video. Peace out.